Outlands meme review. For most of you, you probably have no idea what we're talking about here. But last season, there was a lot of memes that were created throughout the season. And this season was now not the same. Will this video do well? No. But for those that are really invested in the Outland story, I think you'll appreciate some of these. And it's tradition at this point. We gotta do it. Malta is destroyed. The CDF remnants. I didn't hear no bell. This is referring to the fact that easily 50% of the CDF player base, instead of, dying, calling it a break for the season, or perhaps forming a new faction, immediately went over to the Riders and said, hey, can I keep fighting? Not only did they keep fighting, but a lot of these CDF members would be part of Meridian Squadron, which, as far as the war goes, was one of the most casualty-inducing squadrons after the CDF fell. So even though the CDF fell, their remnant ships whooped some pretty good ass, as did their former members. This one was a little wholesome. The rider captain says, never thought I would die. I don't know the accent with it. Never thought I would die alongside a CDF captain. The CDF captain. How about a fellow Outlander? I can do that. And it kind of refers to, honestly, the personal growth or arc that a lot of the CDF rider personnels went through. When you think about it, the season started in Season 1 with the CDF and riders fighting, and I'd be lying if I didn't say there's a little bit of animosity there, right? In terms of min-maxing, in terms of ship design, in terms of the fact that the CDF was generally winning most of the battles. Come Season 2, we noticed the formation of the COA, which failed spectacularly. And a lot of the CDF personnel blamed the riders, and a lot of the riders blamed the CDF personnel. And at the end of the day, they just weren't really vibing. And as the war continued, they never really worked well together. I have plenty of videos discussing this. But in the final hour, when the CDF died and those CDF personnels came over to the riders, I don't know, something kind of clicked. And I think they were kind of best buds there for a while. So much so that a lot of these guys ended up staying with the riders post season 2. And I didn't realize this was such a wholesome gif meme now that I think about it. This one, on that note, kind of similarly, this used to say, join the riders, make the CDF pay. But quickly, a new enemy has emerged, and we've already printed out 400,000 of these, so just rub it out, put KE in its place. I think it works out all right. Also, damn, that's quite the original trio. We have a oil class on the right, or I don't think it's called the oil class. The Queen Providence class on the right. We have the Ravager and the Outlander on the left, and it's like Gen 2 configuration. So yeah, it's kind of the original rider trio. All but one are gone now. Oh, this one's good. So for those that weren't aware, no one actually knew that the Khans had deconstructed the majority of their cruisers to build 2 battleships. And battleships are insanely rare and powerful in this series, right? I mean, most of you know. And no one knew this. So when the quote-unquote cruisers, a force of roughly 16 ships, arrived to siege Malta, the CDF were like, hey, all right, what cruisers did they bring? And it wasn't cruisers, it was 2 battleships and some cruisers. And a lot of jokes you'll see and a lot of memes you'll see kind of play off the fact that, these battleships kind of just showed up out of nowhere. So you just see like an evil Slender Man, or it's just a cat, oh no, it's just a naked dude on a wall or something. What the fuck is that? Yeah, so this is more of a Season 1 meme, but it's pretty good, coming in through the door. Hey, can we get some help here? We need to go back to our system, and somehow Captain Brock always stumbles on systems in a complete shit show. Except unlike the 11th Fleet system, which was generally just one enemy, here you show up and it's riders trying to put out a fire, the civilians cowering in the corner, the First Fleet just completely knocked the fuck out. Yeah, seems about right. It kind of reminds me of the everything is fine meme as it's melting. This one provided by me from Tidier. The Viminals, existed in Season 1 and Season 2. No shit. And there was a arms race, shall I say, of thruster development or thruster additions, or we'll just call it thruster spam. as the season got more and more heated and capability was more and more sought after to gain any single edge possible. And people were like, can we strap more thrusters on a Viminal? And the joke here is, yet, Destroyer is fine. Right? The original image, I'm pretty sure, is an AK and talks about how a lot of people love to shove accessories, red dots, and all that on their AKs to quote-unquote improve it, often ruining it in the process. Same thing here. This is a classy one. So, I don't know how this happens, but Viminals keep doing Viminal things, which about 50% of the times means a lone destroyer takes on a cruiser and almost wins, or does win. But the other 50% of the time, it means it goes straight into an object and dies horribly, or just dies by going by itself into the enemy formation. The funniest one of which is, initially one of the Viminal in the series, Season 1, crashed into an asteroid while chasing a ship that it had dead to rights, really with almost no provocation whatsoever. And ever since then, we're like, why are Viminals crashing into things? And then in the Season 2 finale, another Viminal crashed into another asteroid. And yeah, it's we're starting to think that people are doing it on purpose. Speaking of which, I just really like rocks, okay? Like Viminals, you know, they got a special attraction to its favorite rocks. Oh yeah, this is kind of like that one earlier. Eternity shows up, going to the Outlands, well, Pioneer system, but whatever, to bring reinforcements to help the Civil War. And then, yeah, no, not at all. Out of the frying pan into the fucking flaming wok.
We didn't have any fancy schmancy tanks. We had sticks, 2 sticks and a rock for a whole platoon, and we had to share the rock.
So, if you watch Season 1 and Season 2, you notice Robert keeps showing up, and the First Fleet really isn't interested in giving him the resources he needs to do the mission. So the Eternity is trying to start a revolution with a full-blown 6th-gen battleship. Meanwhile, Roberts is freezing his ass off 6 months into a infiltration on the moon planet, trying to start a rebellion. He had to share the rock. This one was pretty good. You know, as the CDF and the Riders were against the rope and the CDF fell, it was just the Riders against the onslaught of the Khan war machine. Now, we had reasons for the Eternity to go deep into enemy territory. We wanted to end the war, but honestly, from the Riders' perspective and how long it took for us to actually get anything done, it honestly looked like we just fucked off on a road trip into God knows where. Hey, we thought they were gone, but fuck, they turned into battleships. The evolution of this meme was eventually the Khan cruisers were actually gone because they managed to kill the rest of them. So, kind of a turnaround on that meme. That first one was made actually before the battleship was even ever sighted from the Khans, and they're like, oh, I want to post this in the general chat and make them nervous. But then this one was posted at the Season 2 finale. Longbow versus Vesuvius caught in 4K. That's funny because nothing of this is filmed in 4K, but, you know, I get the joke. We called it the Battle of the Bricks because it was probably the 2 most box-like ships in the series, and we often laughed about how the Longbow in its original configuration was just a fucking box. Because it really was. It's a stereotypical Space Engineers design where it kind of just has no greebling, no nothing. It's just a box with thrusters and guns. It's a good box and thruster with guns, though. Speaking of which, we were creating thumbnails to release some of this on the workshop, and here we go. We got the Longbow, aka the Long Brick Khan Enclave heavy ECM cruiser. God, it's beautiful, isn't it? That's about how many thrusters it probably has per side as well. Yeah, so when the CDF collapsed, most of their members, as I mentioned, joined the Riders. When Eternity won't let you build a battleship, so you lose so hard that your faction gets assimilated and you join an ally who has one. Modern problems require modern solutions. Yeah, because the Riders have a battleship. So they ended up, we literally had CDF pilots in a Rider battleship. So they eventually got their battleship. I don't see what's wrong here. This one was from Season 1, but ironically we hit the oil after it had a core detonation with the main battery on the Eternity. And it's still actually more intact than I've seen ships after, like, a light grazing in a battle. So you get the typical Jeremy Clarkson, oh no, Anyways, yep, if you follow the story at all, this is basically what's going on. The First Fleet generally has slight funding issues and lack of motivation to deal with the outer reach, where the CDF and the cons and the riders are, because it's just not really a developed space, and they don't want to overextend themselves, smartly perhaps. They kind of want to let the problem solve itself. So initially, the CDF and the riders was that problem, to keep the CDF in check, but that didn't really work out well, because they allied together at the end. So instead, the cons showed up out of nowhere, and they're going to town against the COA, and the First Fleet is just sitting back with a bong like, fuck yeah, get it done. We'll see how that turns out in the long run. If you've watched any of the Rick and Morty, let's go, in and out, 20-minute adventure into con space, right? They deployed their strongest squadron to take out the cons. 2 episodes later, PTSD has ensued, many capital ships are dead, and they never want to do that again. Here's another good one. Who would win? An armored boy or Rotor the Destroyer? This is a joke about, I hate bringing this up because it's going to encourage him, but Rotor, because he was on the Eternity a lot, had access to a lot of rocket launchers. And because even before that, he grabbed and gravitated towards rocket launchers. And we had scenes where we're trying to film gunfights or do gunfights, and everyone is just getting blasted at point-blank range by Rotor with his fucking rocket launcher, and it pissed a lot of people off, but it did absolutely develop a reputation. Nice spelling. When you expect to die within 5 episodes, but you beat one of the largest factions, everyone, how are you not dead? I have no idea. So, some people might not realize this, but I have to do a degree of planning and designing of encounters and, in this case, full-blown factions. I designed the cons to have enough ships that they could put up a fight compared to the COA, but not enough ships that they would really last all that long, even if they went 2-1. So they lost 1 ship for every 2 ships they killed. They still would only last about 10 episodes at most. The low end was expected 2 to 3 episodes before they collapsed. We went for an average of 5 episodes, right? Because the COA almost doubled them in almost every single aspect. But that didn't work out. We spent the entire season resolving my 10 episode sidetrack thing. So, fuck. And speaking of which, fighting the throwaway faction, expectations, you got the fish. Reality, the fish eats you. And because most con ships are fish, like designs, or shark designs, it fits kind of well. You got your Jaws, a little moment here. Also, these are really high quality, by the way. I'm pretty sure this one's from Tydeer. He does some pretty good photoshops. So we were joking about how Outlands is quickly turning into like some anime love triangle shit, right? Everyone's dead to the Eternity. The Eternity hates everyone but wants to be friends with everyone. The CDF hates the Eternity. The CDF hates the K. What the fuck is a KEF? Or KFE? It's like a Kentucky Fried Enclave. Everyone is just hating everyone, and some people are it's a shit show. It's a love triangle. But instead of love, it's hate. Oh, and then the final one, the Vesuvius. All right, we killed the Vesuvius. Good job. Why does he look like a Photoshop icon, an Adobe Suite icon? But yeah, we killed the Vesuvius. Haha. And then the Eternity crew recovers it, and the Vesuvius plays a critical component in removing the cons from the winning the war, rather. All right, that's that. That's the con. That's the Outland Season 2 meme review. There are a couple of them. If you want to see yours on here, just message me in Discord and be like, @Brock, hey, check out this meme, and I'll add it, and you'll see it in Season 3 meme review, or whatever it's called. Who knows? Okay, whatever. Sick. See ya.